Right, afternoon all. I thought I'd take you through a tour of the livestock going on in my Red Sea Max 250. Yeah, this is to help me keep a documentation of what's going on in here. Check out the growth of the corals, see how things are progressing. And obviously as I get new stock, new corals, new fish, it helps me keep a video record of what I've got. So, if we kick off with the fish, we have got in here a flame angel. I've had this guy probably for about a year. Great little fellow, really lively, eats like a pig, really gorgeous looking fish. He's gone. I've got my 2 clownfish, as every reef tank seems to have, and they like to live over here and are hosted by my red bubble tip anemone. And I've had this guy again, well, the parent anemone I had in my old tank for about a year, and about a week before we moved into this tank, it decided to split into 2. I only transferred the one anemone into this new tank, into the Red Sea Max. As you can see, they kind of grow pretty big, and they can start to take over the whole tank and sting other corals. He's had a go at this little one down here, unfortunately. Then I've got my tang, my chevron, juvenile chevron tang. So this is a stunning fish. Not the cheapest, but I think it's beautiful. It's one of the bristle-toothed tangs. So space requirements wise, it doesn't require a huge amount of space. And it is fine, well, some would have you think that you couldn't keep a tang in anything under a 1,000 litre tank, but this fella's pretty happy in the 250 litre tank. If you don't know about chevrons, they have these stunning juvenile colorations, and then as they progress into adulthood, they turn into a kind of grey-black shimmering colour with iridescent green stripes where their current blue ones are. Bit of a marmite fish as an adult. Some people love them, some people hate them. I think they look pretty awesome, to be honest. But yeah, he's been in there about 8 weeks now, so one of the newest fish. And then somewhere in here we have my canary blenny, or vampire blenny. Cute little fish. I'll be honest, I wanted to get a nice mix of colours. I wanted a yellow fish. Yellow tang would have been too, I think really would have grown too big for this tank. So this little fella's a nice yellow colour. Great personality. It's also called the 2-fanged yellow blenny. It's a poisonous fish. Got 2 fangs there that can deliver a bit of a nasty bite if you were to piss it off enough. This guy's never been aggressive. So moving on to the coral collection, I've got a nice spread of hard and soft corals. We're starting at the bottom left here. We've got a small patch of zoas, so anthids. We've got some reds, some greens. Zoanthids are an area of the tank I'm looking to start to increase my numbers on. You can get some beautiful colorations of zoas I've seen from some UK suppliers, all colours of the rainbow. So I want to start getting some frags of those to seed my rocks with. Here we've got a standard torch coral. This guy's never really done too well. I don't know if it's just the type of torch that he is, but the polyps, the tentacles don't really tend to extend that much, and there's no skirts as you normally would get at the base of the tentacles there. Having said that, he's been alive for the last 1.5 years, hasn't grown a hell of a lot, so the jury's still out on him. We have a colony of Palithoa here. Not the most attractive, to be honest. They're really just there until I find a slightly more attractive coral to take its place. Got a small frag here, which is just starting to sort of liven up a bit. It had a bit of a shock when it went in. It got puttied in, fell off, and went behind the rocks for a week, face down. So I didn't think it was going to make it, but it seems to be coming back all right. And then here we have my branching torch coral, purple tipped torch coral. This guy's doing really well. The bottom two sort of buds there are a bit withdrawn because they're being stung by a leather coral which I used to have in the tank. But since that's been taken out, this guy's now doing really well. Some more either zoas or pallies knocking about down there. And then my green star polyps. These guys are doing pretty well at the moment. I'm hoping they're going to spread over this rock here and not go too out of control over the rockwork. Moving up, we've got my newest coral here, still with the tag on. This is a plating Montipora, and it's a piece of it's a frag that's been created using a green and an orange Monty intertwined. So hopefully that's going to grow and look really, really good. This guy here, I completely forget which coral this is. I'm relatively new to this whole coral malarkey side of things, so if anyone can identify this coral and knows the name, please feel free to post it in the comments because I'll be very interested to know. And the same goes for this fella up here. I think he's a type, possibly a type of Monty. You can see basically he was snapped off when I moved the rocks over. He was actually attached just there with that small patches that's now really growing nicely. He was snapped off that point, and you can see here he's now starting to encrust back down along the base, and there's some great new growth on the tips of that one. Next here, one of my oldest corals, my Duncan. He's doing really well. This guy is a really good indicator of the health of the tank. He will really close up if anything is bugging him. When I bought him, he was about 3 heads in size. He's got to be knocking on about 15 heads now, this guy. Yeah, great little coral. Toxic candy cane, doing very well. I can see multiple mouths now starting to appear in those heads, so I think that's getting ready to split soon. Random mushroom and some random zoas that came on the live rock. Again, they're doing their thing. They're quite nice looking. And then up at the top, another one of my new corals here. This is one of my bird's nest type corals. I forget the name, but I'll annotate it to the video. But this guy's doing well. Really good polyp extension, growing really nicely. He does have a little fella that lives inside him, and I'll go over that at the end of this video when I talk about my unwanted guests in the tank. So, in terms of inverts, in terms of shrimps, snails, etc, etc, let's see what we can find. I've got a real mix across the board in here. Hermit crab wise, we've got about 4 or 5 varieties. Apologies, the lighting is shocking. But this guy here is a Halloween, orange-legged Halloween hermit. There's another one of those actually just over here. That's another orange-legged Halloween, currently eyeing up a new shell. In the tank I've got red-footed hermits, blue-footed hermits, black stripe-footed hermits, and then these Halloween hermits as well. Loads of different snails. Try to avoid turbo snails. I find they're a bit of a pain in the arse because they just fall off the rocks upside down and can't right themselves. So I've got some Nasurius snails, Seraph snails, Mexican turbo snails. There's a guy, not sure I can find him, has a really interesting shaped shell. He was an absolute star at cleaning the algae, but he is currently AWOL. There's one of them under there, I'm not sure if you can quite see. Has a really interesting kind of shell with all sorts of spikes and appendages coming off it. My cleaner shrimp, this guy's a trooper. He's been in the tank, well, since my original tank. I originally inherited a very small marine biorb which was completely not fit for purpose, which had the 2 clowns and the cleaner shrimp in. I very quickly got hooked on marine and moved from that to a 130 litre Boyu tank for a year, and then about 2 months ago switched over and got hold of this Red Sea Max C250. Other invertebrates, I'm not sure if you can see here, this guy is beautiful, but he has found himself the most hard to reach spot. This is my electric flame scallop. Now I can't pick it up, but his mouth parts flash electric sort of blue, which is used to attract the prey that they feed on. I did try and put him in a cave at the front here, hoping he would stay, but he has shot himself around the tank during the night and set up in the back. Sod's law. Anyway, behind him, and again out of sight, we've got my serpent star. You can almost see a leg at the back there. That guy's really well hidden. But yeah, I've got a nice serpent starfish there. Okay, so that's my main inhabitants of the tank. Now, I do have some unwelcome hitchhiking visitors. I've tried to take some pictures, so I will put them into this video when I edit it. First of all, in a little hole underneath the anemone here, you won't be able to see, I don't think. I'll try illuminating it, but I don't think that's going to work. No, there is a crab. He lives just in there, and here is a picture. So I'm pretty sure he's just a hitchhiking crab of some description. He doesn't appear hairy like a gorilla crab, but I'm pretty sure that he is responsible, because he was also in my old tank and I couldn't manage to get rid of him in the transfer. I think he's responsible for the demise of some of my gobies. I've had a couple of pistol shrimp goby pairings, and after a few months each time, the gobies disappeared, and I think this fella during the night has found its sleeping place in its cave and had it for some food. Unfortunately, with this coral, I found on Saturday what I'm pretty sure is a Monty eating nudibranch. And having done some googling, I'm not too happy about finding that fellow, because if there's more, that could be the end of my Monty. But I've not seen any more since I removed the first one. I used the turkey baster to suck the little bastard out. I've not seen any since, but fingers crossed. I managed to get a picture. This is what he looks like. And my final hitchhiker, who I noticed just the day before yesterday, is going to be impossible to get a shot of, because he positions himself just where I can't find him. But he's in the crevice of this coral, and he's a crab. He's about the size of a 5p piece. You can almost see that white bit there just moving in the middle of the shot. He is so good at hiding. It's like he knows I'm trying to get him on film. I'm going to try and get some long sort of needle nose sort of tweezers and get him out. I'm hoping he's, well, I don't know what he is. I don't think he's a coral eating crab, because he's too big and there's no damage on the coral. But I don't really want him in there, if I'm entirely honest with you. I don't trust him with some of the slower fish. Crabs in reef tanks are good for certain things. In my experience with hermits, for example, they're great when they're small, but when they get bigger they can start to nip at your corals and your other inverts. So to get over this, I tend to not put any large shells in my tank, so that natural selection kind of works and takes over. And that way they never really, once they get too big to find a shell, they tend to disappear, to be honest. Yeah, I've got some of the larger ones I do tend to give away or give back to LFS. I've got a very large Halloween hermit who I've noticed has been pulling my zoas off. So he may well have to be given back or donated to someone else. In fact, there he is. He's a big fella. And he does seem to have a bit of an appetite now for some corals, which I'm not happy about. Anyway, that's a tour of the livestock of the tank as it is. Feel free to ask any questions and I'll try and answer them as best I can. In terms of, I guess, previous inhabitants, like I said, a couple of gobies and shrimp, pistol shrimp, unfortunately were lost. I did have a 6-line wrasse for about a year. He was great for 6 months, 6-line wrasse, great personality, always picking off the rocks and darting around. Unfortunately, after 6 months, all of a sudden he became very territorial, and I had 2 purple firefish in my previous tank with him, and he just hassled them to death. If they came out of the rocks, he would chase them into a corner to the point where they wouldn't come out anymore, and unfortunately they both didn't make it. So he was unfortunately removed from the tank, which was a shame, but I think sometimes the LFS shops don't always let you know that these 6 lines can be, well, they can be arseholes basically once they get a bit older. But yeah, I think I'll probably look at another wrasse in the future, just perhaps not a 6-line. In terms of fish in the future, I've got my eye on 2 different fish potentially for my next editions. I've got this guy here. And I've got this one here. Obviously, if I get either of those fish, I'll keep you guys posted and make a video once they arrive in the tank. Okay, that's probably all for this week. Hopefully the filming's been slightly better. Sorry about the shit video last week. I'm still getting to grips with all this. Any questions, let me know, and I will post another update shortly to let you know what's happening in my Red Sea Max C250. Cheers.